Hiya, welcome to another episode of Pickler The Podcast. I'm your host, Stacie Townsend, along with my co host, John, the People's Champ Davison. And John, I've been dying to talk to you. I know you were in the broadcast booth with the APP tour at the APP Masters this past weekend. We haven't talked. I put out some social media. We got some questions. The fans out there are dying to hear about your weekend. So give us the rundown.
Well, Stacie, we just talked for like an hour while our podcast guy got his stuff together. But yeah, I had a good time. It was definitely fun to get in the booth. I have done it once before. I did it with Eddie and Webby, and I was a little intoxicated. Um, and it was at Simone's tournament. And I remember I was sitting with Simone talking, and Eddie comes up and he was like, "Hey John, you want to get in the broadcast booth?" And I'm like chugging beers, like talking with Simone, and Simone's like, "Oh god, you're going in?" And that was, like, the first time I did it and the only time, so it was good to, like, have it in a nicer professional kinda setting. Um, it was a good time. I definitely was not expecting the amount of senior pro matches,
hmm
because as you know, we talked about last week, I have, like, a whole database of I guess, just under 50, like, normal pros, and then it was like, "Alright, you're gonna be watching, pro singles all day," and I'm like, or senior pro singles, and I'm like, "Dang, I haven't watched." I watch it sometimes, right? But I haven't like studied it. So I'm like, great. I'm gonna have to like really pay attention, because I like wasn't prepared. But I think it turned out all right. Um,
No, definitely. From what I saw, John, I thought you did a great job. I'm a Julie Johnson fan, so I love that you were in the booth for that one where she brought home the triple crown for the Johnsons, or quote unquote triple crowned, where her two kids and herself took home the gold in singles. And your interview after was great. So that was probably the highlight of my weekend, but I thought you did a wonderful job. What about something that you did like or you thought you did well on?
um, I thought like overall it was good. I definitely learned pretty quickly things I would need to work on. Right, like it was a transition when I went from being with Lauren and then being on my own.
hmm
I was like, I was trying to find the healthy balance between play by play and color. And so for like the first few matches, I was like, felt like I was doing too much play by play and like no color. And then I like tried a
Sure.
match where it was like all color and no play by play. And then it was like 6 points went by and I like didn't even realize that 6 points happened, So it was like, all right, I got to find that balance by yourself, which was, I think, the most difficult thing. And
Sure.
then I remember my first outro to commercial, like doing by myself. I was like, I looked over at Spencer and Mitch, the two production guys I was with,
Uh-huh.
and I just looked at them after my commercial. I was like, dang, I butchered that one. Just say this, and I'm like, all right, cool. So then I was like a lot better after that. But I thought I did all right. I definitely know what I wanna work on. I haven't listened to a lot of matches I've done so far, but I listened to one.
Well, I know it's no surprise to you, but we do have a veteran coming on as our guest today, Mr. Dominic Catalano, who maybe can give you some feedback. And before I kick it over to Dom, just to give him a little intro, Dom is definitely the veteran broadcaster for the APP Tour as well as USA Pickleball. He is in my home pretty much every weekend, which I really enjoy hearing his voice. And he's also the general manager at the Pickleball Club over in Sarasota, Selkirk sponsored player, and he's a coach, 7-time US Open winner. I could go on and on. Dom's been around the game for a really long time. So Dom, what do you have to say in reaction to John's rundown over there?
Well, first and foremost, Stace, thank you guys. John, you too. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I love your guys' show. I love what you guys talk about.
Have you
You
actually
do it the
watched
right way,
you
Stace.
actually
So
watched any episodes, Dom?
now, for wait, before you start talking, John, I said first question, first and foremost, Stacy, I'm listening before you guys bring me in. And Stacy says the fans were interested in what John did over the weekend. Olivia doesn't count. Okay. So who's next? I mean, who are these fans? I mean,
You have moms,
uh,
you got everybody. I'm the people's champ, baby. You got to give people what they want.
no, John, and to get back to what you were talking about, Stace, John did awesome this weekend, and it's like John said, it's a learning curve. It's different when you're in the booth with someone, and then you're by yourself, and then you have to all of a sudden do that outro, and then bring it back in with an intro, and then you're the color, you're the play-by-play. It's a lot different. But yeah, you did a good job this weekend, John. Look forward to you and me getting next to each other in the booth one day. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'd have a good time.
For
We'd have,
sure.
I think the first outro I said, instead of saying like USA Pickleball, I said USAPA Pickleball. And I was like, oh man, I already ruined it.
which first and foremost, you should be saying USA Pickleball, and then it's not USAPA anymore. So I mean, there's two
Yeah,
strikes against you.
I know. So I butchered that one.
No,
But
but you did good, and it sounded like you had a lot of fun. But again, like anyone, you're going to be more critical on yourself than anything, and I still am. Been doing it for heck, not even that long. I mean, I can't say I've been doing it a long time. A year and a half now. But I'll still go back and listen to everything I'm doing and want to do different things. And I'm like, I should have said this, should have said that. But it all just kind of starts to flow as one by the end of the weekend. I'm sure it did for you too.
it definitely got easier.
Mm-hmm.
It got easier. I would have liked to had like another person with me. But it was nice to be on my own. I know Ken even asked, he's like, do you want someone with you? Like, we'll bring someone else. Like, I don't care. I was like along for the ride. I was just doing whatever. Like, if you want someone in there with me, like, put someone in there. If not, like, I'll hold down the fort.
Yeah. And you did. And like you said, I heard before you brought me on, you had a lot of senior matches. And you got to learn your seniors, John. You got to learn your seniors.
I
Julie and Merch are going to be upset with you if you don't learn the
I know.
seniors.
I know a lot of them, but it was like some of them I had to ask. Like, I asked like Tom DiCaprio. I was like, hey, who's this Blev guy? He was like, Blev? You mean like B-Lev, Brian Levine? I said,
Right.
I thought he was like some, Eastern European guy. I don't know. Like that was just Blev.
Yeah.
And
And then the next thing is always my biggest pet peeve is not knowing, like having announcers know people's names, like know their names, know how to say them. That's a tough thing too, especially when you don't know them. It's just, I learned the fastest way to do it. Literally, if you got someone coming on your court that you don't know, go jump on the court. I would run right out to them and be like, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm saying your name right. I don't want to butcher it. I want to give them the due respect that they deserve for being on a live stream. So, those are those little things that, I'm sure you're catching already.
yeah, I definitely I asked like Scott Fliegelman because I didn't know if it was Fliegelman or Fleigelman.
Yeah.
Even though I played Nersha and been around him so many times, it's like it's Morariu, right? Like I
Yeah,
want to make sure I say it
exactly.
right.
It's right. And his name is so like, it's exactly how it's
Hmm.
spelled. And so many people will try and do too much with it. And
Yep,
it's literally exactly how it's spelled.
yep. And then it was like Matthias Johansson or like Matthias. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what is it? So,
Mm-hmm.
but I
Is
think
it
it's all
Johansson? Is it Johansson? Yep.
yeah,
Well,
my man.
saying the name right just is, means so much to the person whose name it is, right? So it's
Right.
something easy for you to do, but it goes a long way. So that's a good tip. So
Yep.
so so Dom, tell me how you got into the broadcast booth. I don't even know if I know how you made this transition or how this opportunity developed for you.
So 2 years ago, Beer City, again, another Eddie and Webby story. Why does everything got to go back to those guys?
It's in the
They're getting
archive.
out of podcasting, and now I still talk about them. But no, 2 years ago, Beer City, Eddie and Webby were doing their thing up there, and both of them were like, "Hey, Dom, you want to come in, jump in for a match or two?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I jumped in, and it was instantly like I absolutely loved it. I loved doing it. Um, I'd always kind of wanted to do something like that, but more along, Stacie, you and I, baseball, softball. I wanted to get into doing it on a baseball side and never did. And then the opportunity came up with those guys. I did that, and Ken saw me do it.
Mhm.
And so when Ken wanted to do the live streams and start them for the tour, he was like, "Hey, I'd love for you to be, part of the team doing the live streams and everything." And I was in from the get go. Our first live stream we did was the exhibition in Bend, Oregon, that we did out there. It was right like after COVID was starting to kind of trickle down, and we're starting to get back into tournaments, but we weren't. So we were doing those exhibitions. And so the first one was that one out in Bend, Oregon. And heck, I think it was over 20 tournaments last year. It
Wow.
was absolutely amazing between the USA Pickleball Championship Series. I did MLP. I got to do that. And then, the granddaddy of them all in nationals last year. Obviously, the draws weren't as big because of everything that was going on, but to be able to say that I was at nationals on the broadcast for 6 straight days
Mhm.
in pickleball, I mean, what else do you have, right? Like, I mean, that's your major, that's your biggest tournament, and I was there. I did it. I absolutely loved it. I got home and I slept for like 2 days.
I bet.
So
I
is
was
that
exhausted after this weekend. Sorry,
What's
Steve.
that?
I was exhausted after this weekend. I only did 2 days.
No, I know it's a long day. I mean, we were talking about doing this podcast on Monday. John texted me and said, "I don't think I can talk today." So we
I
moved
didn't
it.
wanna talk. I didn't want to talk anymore.
No, and that's exactly it. Because like you get done too, and like John, like you were with us. We all kind of like as a crew, we all kind of hang out together with our box car with Kyle, Randy, Mitch, all the guys, Steve, Ariel, and afterwards we'll all go out to eat and we'll grab food. But it's like as soon as we're done, I like want to go back to my room. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to watch TV. I like want silence because I'm like, I've listened to myself talk for 10 hours. I don't need any more.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
what else can you tell us what it's like in the broadcast booth behind the scenes?
I mean, I always tell the biggest way I explain, or the best way I can explain it is you have the best seat in the house for some of the best matches on tour. Um, those matches are handpicked for the live stream because they want to give the viewers at home the best matches out there. And so to say I'm as close as possible to the court watching these matches and just watching the progression over the past year and a half of where the game is going was never so evident as it really was this weekend. And it really kind of showed me, how things are going when I was doing my on court interviews. And I sat there, I gave an on court interview to it was Stefan Auburn and Brandon Insikbong.
Yep.
And I'm standing next to those guys, and they're both at least 6'3", and
Mhm.
I'm 6'1", standing there going, I look small. And then I have Andre Dascu and Eden Lika next to me, and they're 6'4", 6'5", and I'm like looking up at these guys. And then the next interview is Deckel, and I'm like, this is where the game is going. And
Yeah.
so like seeing that progression of the enhancement of the game, that the pure athletes that are just coming into this game and taking over, I think I made the best decision a year and a half ago is getting in the booth.
Yeah. Because you're in that purgatory, you said.
Exactly, because what am I going to do as a 44-year-old with 2 bad knees from baseball? What am I going to do? Go out there and go 2-2 in a tournament and then sit in the sidelines? No, I'll sit in a booth for 10 hours and watch the best players and save my money rather than paying a donation,
Yeah.
to like Declan and Adam to take my money.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like Sincola and just still be a beast when he's 40.
Yeah, I could, but I'm not.
Yeah.
What was it? Tyson. I thought that was awesome. Tyson put out a post after Sincola beat Zane in singles the other last or 2 weeks ago, and he said the last time he came up with the stat, and I'm pretty sure he's probably accurate. The last time a 40-plus-year-old won a pro singles title was Marcin Ruspetsky in 2016. I'm like, that's crazy. Because that's just where the game is. At that pro level, it's an under 40 game. And what John did was absolutely amazing. You can never take that away from him. So I think, Tyson, that was an awesome stat to throw out there.
Yeah, he's a freaking beast.
Yeah.
Sincola. And Rospetsky is too.
Oh yeah, Marcin was awesome. And he just moved down here, right? He lives like 10 minutes from me now.
Oh wow. I did not
Yeah,
know.
he's already texted me. When are we gonna hit?
I know he made his comeback this year or in 2021 back to the tournaments, right? So
Yep.
he's
Yeah,
back out there.
Yep, he came out a little bit, but I know him and his family, they just moved here to Bradenton I'm pretty sure it's because of for Chance, his son, to have an opportunity for tennis out here. So
That's
good to
awesome.
have him in the area.
Definitely.
Dom, you hit on a couple things. One, your interviews. I love them. They're probably one of my favorite parts of the day. I think you do a wonderful job with them. But one thing I'm jealous of you is you get to develop all these great relationships with all the players too and get to know them both on court, right? How they play, and then off the court. Like what a great experience for you. And then I wanted to ask you, you talked about the athleticism of the players. How
Mhm.
else are you seeing the game evolve? Because you've been around much longer than the year and a half in the broadcast booth. You've been around the sport for a long time now. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are globally on the sport.
She
Yeah,
called you
like
old there, Dom.
what?
She was calling you old there.
I know. In such a nice way. I mean, you say it and you're just like, you're old. Stacie said it in such a nice way.
I didn't say it, John.
But no, you're right. Like one of my favorite things is the interviews after the matches. When I first started doing all this and we first started doing all the live streaming stuff, I think it helped me because I had already played with a lot of those players for years prior to that and then got to know them. And so it kind of put me in a position to where I knew a little bit about them personally, and then on the court in their game as well. So that kind of helped me with that. And then my position in the booth over the past year and a half has helped me follow a lot of the players. But the thing too is just like anything, and John, I was that was one thing I was so impressed with you and what you've already done in preparation for coming out this past weekend and in the future is you're doing your homework on the players. You're watching videos, you're getting stats, and it's constant, right? And so like this weekend I'll sit back and I'll watch the PPA and I'll see who beat who, and I'll make my own notes, and I have all my notes and everything. And the funny part is you got all those notes, you may only use one or two a day, right?
I know.
But you have all those notes and it's great to have, and you do need those things. And that's, one of those things that I learned sitting next to Cameron Irwin, next to Michelle McMahon, next to Drew Felios, watching professionals that have come in and done, play-by-play commentary, and watching those pros and what they do has kind of helped me prep and helped me do, what I do. But then to answer your question, Stace, about like where the sport is going and whatnot, the biggest thing I've seen is the athleticism. There are pure athletes at the pro level now. Like there's no denying it anymore that you just can't come in and think you're going to win anymore. Maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but these players and what they're doing and how they're training is just incredible now. And the athletes that we have are pure athletes now. You talk about your Tyson McGuffins, your Johnson Cola, at 40 years old, being able to do what he does. He can't just wake up and do that. Zane Navratil, the pureness of J.W. Johnson. Look at the work that Anna Lee puts in, the young players putting in all that work. And then the game, it's not that, I hate to say the game has sped up, but it has. It's gotten faster. It's gotten harder. But it's not to say that the pure part of pickleball, the dinking, the dink rallies aren't still there, because they are. But players are learning how to speed up from different positions that they couldn't before. So that's the evolution of the game that I absolutely love, and I want. And it's nothing against like our top players. I mentioned Ben and Anna Lee and whatever. Um, I still say like our best pickleball players aren't playing pickleball yet. They're not. They haven't come over yet. Once they do, it's going to be insane. Example this past weekend, Stefan Auburn. Never
Mhm.
seen the kid before play in my life. He's 32 years old. He didn't pick up a racket or paddle for 10 years and then started playing a little over or a little less than a year ago. And he made a name for himself this past weekend playing with Brandon and then playing with Corinne Carr. I mean, that kid is going to be something. And wait until all those kids come from tennis and start coming over. It's going to be amazing for the sport of pickleball.
Well, it's not even just the tennis kids; it's the kids like Hayden Patriquin. Did I say that name right?
Yep.
And like Wyatt Stone, and just Anna Lee. These kids that are like coming up from when they're 10 years old,
Yeah.
right? And like this is their sport. That's why like Kyle Yates was so good, right? Because
Yep.
he started playing. He was like the first young kid to really do it. And now that age, just like any other top sport, is going further down in age, right? So, I mean, the kids like Hayden, not just kids from, not just people from tennis or other rackets,
Right.
it's like the kids that are going to be growing up with pickleball as their sport. Those kids are going to be dominating. I mean, I saw that Hayden, almost took that one game off Zane Navratil in singles, just balling out in Mesa, right?
Mm-hmm.
I watched some doubles play with him, and I was like, geez, this kid in like a couple years, he's gonna be good.
Oh, it's crazy because let's see, down here or in Sarasota, I opened up a club about 3 years ago at Laurel Oak Country Club. They opened up their courts. They brought me in. I was a pro there for a year. So we opened up the courts, and the head tennis pro there is a guy named Ty Braswell. Well, he's got three sons, and his two oldest were Micah and Jonah. Um, Micah is on a full ride at University of Texas for tennis, and Jonah is now at Florida State on a full ride. Okay, these are no joke like tennis player kids, right? So when I got over there, neither one of them were in college yet. One was a senior, one was a sophomore, and I taught them pickleball in 10 minutes. I taught them the rules, and they were ridiculous within 10 minutes of what they could do. And I'm just sitting there going, this is like the future. Like when you can get an athlete like that that knows what to do with a racket or paddle, the sky's the limit. It's absolutely insane. And I want to see that. I want to see those, JWs and Dylan Frazier, just a little more emotional ones. Give me
Mm.
like a JW Johnson with a give me like a DJ Young personality, right? Like that's what I want, that combo right there. Or Gabriel Joseph and a Dylan Frazier combo. Give me that.
I do love some Baby K. He's entertaining.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I text that kid all the time before he starts the tournament. I'm like, let's go. Come on, make a run. I just want to watch him. That's it.
Yeah, definitely.
So why do you think personalities are so important, Dom?
It's just so good for the game, right? Like it just think of it. I compare. I hate comparing it to tennis, but compare kind of similar, like in the same lines, right? Am I gonna go pay money at the U.S. Open for tennis to watch some guy who's got no emotion, but he's like unbelievable? Or am I gonna want to go watch Kyrgios? I want
Curious.
to go watch Kyrgios. He may implode. He may lose 6-love, 6-love, 6-1, but
Mhm.
I guarantee he's going to put on a show, right? Like I want something like that. But like you can have that healthy meat or that kind of medium, right? And it's Nadal, right? Like I love Nadal's fire, right? And he's like the best player in tennis. And like that's kind of what people like that, right? They don't want boring. I mean, it's just you want those kind of players to just promote the sport, make the sport better, and just make it more lively.
Yep, exactly.
I know we've talked about it before, Dom. You come from baseball, I come from softball. I
Hmm.
like the little bit of inappropriateness or being loudness on the sidelines, and
Yep.
pickleball doesn't really have that, which I really liked MLP because it kind of gave a little bit of that vibe. But you're
Yep.
totally right. I love the personalities. I wish the fans could get more involved or, maybe stir the pot even a little bit. I always
Yep.
feel awkward cheering at pickleball tournaments, including when I was at APP Masters this past week. But yeah, no, I love the personalities. I think even if it's like a negative look, I know Kyle got some flack for yelling at a referee this past weekend, right? Like that's still entertaining and exciting to me. And uh, one of the reason I love watching Kyle is because he's gonna go all out, whether he's hitting a behind the back winner or between his legs, and he's gonna be really emotional when something doesn't go his way because he wants it and he's putting everything he has into it.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what I saw at MLP when we were there. That pure raw emotion. But again, that's where like Stace, you'd have been fiending at MLP because you and I come from that team. And John, you play soccer too, so you know that team aspect, right? And pickleball, so like your team is two people, right? So it's you and your partner, right, or singles. In soccer, John, you have a whole team. In Stace, in softball, you have your whole team. Me in baseball, you have your whole team. Everybody's behind you. At MLP, they had, the owners of the team, their families, and then you had your teammates who were there. And so you had that atmosphere. It was an atmosphere I had never seen before in pickleball, and I was in love with it from the second we saw it because it brought that team camaraderie. You had other players who are in your corner, right? You don't usually get that. You have players in your corner. And
Mhm.
now, because of that team atmosphere, you had those players backing you, supporting you. You were allowed to coach in between points.
Yeah.
You saw Ben Johns on a baseline behind Rob Nunnery talking to him in between every point, right?
Mhm.
Like you never get that. You because can't get that.
Right.
And so that kind of aspect was absolutely amazing. And like that was one thing that I thought I'm like, we really need to kind of keep that momentum going with that kind of format was awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you can do too many times, right? Because that will kill,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uniqueness. But like 1, 2, 3 times a year, maybe. Okay, more than 1, 2 to 3 times a year, I think is like really awesome. And back on the personalities, people like Kyle, Baby K, and some others, like they get like a lot of shit for it. Sorry, Stace.
Not for
um,
the kids.
they get like a lot of like a bad rap for it, but it's like that's what makes it entertaining. If you had just if you had just robots out there playing, you wouldn't watch it, right? And then also you get to see you're gonna have the personalities because like a lot of these players now are full time. Like this is how they earn money. So it's like
Hmm.
is like you have a bad day at work, you're gonna be upset. It's and this is just it on display in front of everybody. So
Yeah.
I
And hitting on that point too, John, is like you have like Ben Johns, J.W. Johnson, Dylan Frazier, three that come out of like off the top of my head. You don't know if they're up 10 or down 10.
Mhm.
All three of those players, right? They're very stone cold, stoic,
Yeah.
no emotion at all. And that's great. And a purist like the three of us, I can respect and watch that game all day long because we all can see the intricacies and see and appreciate all that, right? But if you have someone who's just coming into the sport and you want them to watch something exciting, again, I love Ben, I love J Dub, but like I'm not going to show them that match first, right?
Yeah.
I want to show them a DJ Young versus Kyle Yates where they're going at it, right? And just a bunch of come-ons and I don't like that call and all, anything like that. That's what I want. I want you to show. I want to show that excitement.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's what we talk about it till our ears fall off, but we want that in that sport.
If anything, it's really funny. Like, it's like I was joking around with Kyle after he had his like, his issues on that court. Um, he's like, as long as nobody makes a gif out of me eating it, I'll be happy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
uh,
should we talk about the APP Masters and give a quick breakdown of what happened this past weekend and look forward to next weekend?
why would I do that? I want you to watch every single one of the matches that both Dom and I, commentated on.
And take notes.
Yeah, I'll
We'll
spread
we'll
you have
give
it ready.
give everybody the preview so they can know what to look forward to. How about that, John?
All right, Dom, who do you want to go first or me go first?
No, you go ahead.
I tell you what.
Come on, you are the new senior pro analyst.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, you
That's
got to
you.
put senior pro first. I tell you what though, the senior pro singles surprised me because like some of those matches were freaking insane. Like those guys are just straight up athletes and girls. Like they cover a lot of court. They hit the ball hard, like everything, right? Like I remember the Paul Olin and Johansson the match when they played for in the gold medal match, right?
Mhm.
And then they had to play to 15. Like that match was insane. I mean, both guys were all over the place, hitting bombs, like solid volleys. Just you could tell like Johansson was starting to feel a little something in one of his legs, and just when the point started, boom! It's like he was perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, just the Bagby, right? Like was like running all over the place, like hitting these crazy angles. It was like I was impressed. It made me get like a better respect for the senior pro game because I can tell you right now, I would get waxed on the court from any one of those people. So like I would lose 11-0 in singles against those guys. So it was pretty cool. But I did get to do some of the, like normal pro. How would you call it? Just
I
Just
say like
pro.
pro.
yeah.
Just pro.
Of course I enjoyed that too. And just watching anything live is better than watching on TV,
Mhm.
because you just like feel everything. And I tell you what, Spencer put the court mics on the side of the net. And so, you hear everything in your headset and everything just sounds so much crisper,
Yeah.
right? Then it's like I took my headset off and I'm like, okay, this just sounds like normal people hitting a pickleball. And then I put the headset on and it was like everything was like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, all right, this is how you watch it, right? Because everything and you hear what they're saying in between the points and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Like surround sound or movie theater sound? Is that what
Yeah,
it felt like?
it like felt like surround sound and just felt like every time they hit the ball, it was crisp. Like it just had that real hard sound to it. So that
Yeah,
was
and those guys are no joke too. Johansson, Olin, Marariu. Those guys, they are legit. Like you're exactly right. I'd step on the court, I'd serve, they'd return. I'd have no chance after that.
yeah, they were just beasts, And then like Fliegelman and Levine were like
Mhm.
two track stars on the court. They're more ground than I can, and I'm like, I want nothing to do with this. You know?
Oh yeah.
But it was fun. What about you, Dom? You're up.
So let's see. What was impressive? Again, he impressed me so much, and I keep talking about him. Was Stefan Auburn out of Austin, Texas? I can't wait to see him some more. Big lefty out of Austin. Played with Brandon in Sikpong, and then played with Corinne, filling in for Adam. He was awesome this weekend. Did so well. Was such a nice guy. Was happy for Brandon in Sikpong. He came out, and him and Stefan Auburn played well. Came close. And then obviously love watching Deckel and Adam Stone play together because one, they just play so well together, and two, it's like there's three people out there because Adam Stone's constantly talking to someone, and it's his alter ego, and it's absolutely awesome, and they just gel so well together. It's so fun to watch, and they played lights out this weekend. Yeah, and then on the women's side, love seeing Simone out there. She battled so much, played so well with Andrea. Happy to see that she's going to be. I just talked to her actually today, and she's doing 11 more APP events this year. So she's doing 11 APP events. So excited to see her on tour all year. Will be a lot of fun. But she played lights out because, I mean, hey, call a spade a spade. I mean, you need to get as many titles as her until you knock her off, because right now she's the GOAT.
Yeah.
There's definitely Annalie knocking on the door, and she'll be there. But right now you have to give Simone all her respect, because what she's done over the past 5-6 years in the sport is ridiculous, and will be a lot of fun to watch her, and was a lot of fun this weekend to watch her.
Yeah, you know who gets the shout out from me from this weekend was the Kawamotos. So
Yes.
you were on.
Mm-hmm.
I had just gotten there like maybe like a couple hours before that
You
match
did
started.
you call the match against Simone and
So it was on the
with
Friday.
Simone and Andrea?
It was on the Friday, so I wasn't in the booth, but it was on one of the other courts. And Stacie, when I tell you this match took forever,
It was
I
like almost 2 hours.
it was so long that Kyle played 3 matches
Yep.
by the time that one was done and was still standing around. Like,
Wow.
and the Kawamotos had 5 match points on Andrew Coop and Simone, and
I
they
think
just
it I think they had 10 in the championship game too, right? Didn't they have like an
Yep.
insane amount of match points?
Yep, they did. And it is, but you were there watching that match, John?
it was insane. It was like I had watched a little bit of it, like the first set, and then I walked away. I like went and I got something to eat, came back. It was in like the second set, and then it was like I left. I was like, wow, this game's taking a while. And
John
then
went back to the hotel. He came back.
I watched something else. I watched what I want you to touch on is the Stone, Deckel, and then Andre and Eden fiasco.
Oh
And
God.
then I came back to the court, and they were still going, and it was like 3-3 in the third. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Wow.
it took forever.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then they came out and they played, what was it? So they played Sarah,
mhm,
Ansbury, and Michelle, and they beat them, I think. Yeah, because I had the no, they didn't. The Kawamotos beat Ansbury and Esquivel. And I interviewed the Kawamotos, and they are more or less JW and Dylan trying to get words out of them. But they're awesome. And then afterwards, I go over and I talk to Sarah, and Sarah, all she said was, the Kawamotos are so annoying.
yeah,
Right? And
yeah,
and what she means by that, though, is it's so frustrating to play against a team who plays such good defense. Every single ball comes back over. If they're able to get a paddle on it, it's coming back over the net. And that's what Ansbury's talking about, is like they're so annoying. And then they did the same thing against Andrea and Simone. And afterwards, I'm talking to Simone and Andrea, and they're like, yeah, like Sarah's right. They're annoying. They just won't go away.
yeah,
But like they're the nicest 2 girls in the world, Jackie and Jade. But
mhm,
like they mean that in like the most complimentary way possible, is that they're so annoying they won't go away, that you think you have a point 1 7, 8, 9 times and you don't.
yeah. And then they get everything back in the kitchen too,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I mean, that was like one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. Like, it's a shame that the first one wasn't on like a court being recorded or streamed,
Yeah.
because that match, like, you could see it in the scores. It was like 11-9, 9-11. It was like 16-14.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was, it was like one of the best pickleball matches I've seen. And there was a crowd there. It was crazy.
Oh, and then you said you wanted me to hit on
Yeah.
the Lika and Daescu versus Bar and Stone. Was
Two
that
times, both
it was
matches.
it was the winners bracket final.
Yeah.
And was it, who did it went out on Andre, right? In game 1, Andre goes to hit a cross court dink, and he's right in line with the scoreboard that was up, right? And he goes to, right before he goes to hit the cross court dink, the scoreboard just flashes and goes out, and he misses the dink, and he's like, hindrance on the scoreboard. And he's like, that can't happen. That can't happen. And so Byron had to come out, and it was like a 15-minute delay before
Forever.
they finally decided to do the point over again, right? And so Dasku and Lika, they got their way and they determined it. And then they turned the scoreboard around, turned it off, turned the other one off. They're like, no more hindrances with the scoreboard tonight. And then just when you think everything's fine, their game two, Lika hits an around the post, right? And he punishes this around the post like hard. And as soon as he hits it, he lets out the biggest like, yeah. Well, Deckel digs it out, right? And gets it back over. Well, then the point keeps going back on, right? For like 8 or 9 more shots. And then Deckel ends up hitting a ball. Deckel or Adam ends up hitting a ball in the net, and they lose the point. As soon as they lose the point, Deckel's like instantly in the referee's ear saying that that was a hindrance, even though he got the ball back over. He's like, that's a hindrance. That's a hindrance. And Deckel told the referee, he's like, look, he's like, I couldn't stop play because if I stop play, it's their point automatically in the rule book. He's like, I had to play the point out, and the point played out. We didn't get it. And then I asked you about it. And the ref wasn't going to change it. Deckel walked off the court. He goes and sits down. And referee comes over to him and goes, this is a timeout? And Deckel goes, no, this is not a timeout. I'm not moving until you make the right call. And so then they had to get Byron out. Byron came out again, another 10 minutes. Deckel didn't move from out of his seat. And then they made the call. And I believe that Deckel was right. I believe in the rule as it's written, that is a hindrance, but Deckel did the right thing in playing the point out. It just didn't go their way, and then he said something after. I think it should have been, maybe it should have been called earlier, or a ref could have called it later. Anyway, it got straightened out the right way, and but yeah, there was some fireworks in that match. But that's what you want too. Like Eden and Andre, those dudes like are crazy. Like Eden's like come-ons and yas and screams, like small children run out of stadium court when they see that.
Well, the funniest part was I was sitting with Martina Coakley and Corinne, and they were waiting on that match to finish because they wanted to like go to dinner. I guess they had like a group going to dinner.
Martina, yeah.
I'm sitting with Martina, and Deckel's sitting by you basically in the broadcast booth, just like pouting. And he's like, I'm not playing, so the call is right, like you said. And Martina's like, gosh, I am so hungry, and then she's like, she just yells at Deckel from across the court. This is like on the other side of the court. Yeah. Deckel, go play. Like, we have dinner. And he just looks at her, he goes, Tina, no.
Yes.
This is like all
I forgot about that.
I was dying laughing.
That's
that
amazing.
Was awesome.
Do you know if the replays actually affected the outcome? Like the other team won the point?
Oh gosh, that's a good question, Stace. I'd have to go back. I can't remember if they did or not.
I mean, I feel like if you go through all that, you at least want to change the outcome, right? And then
right, because if you wasted all that time for the outcome to be the same, that's done.
He did get it. I think I talked to him. He said that he did get the point, which is only fair because Andre, I think, got the point or the replay to the other one, right? So they got to replay that one as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was hilarious. Martina, like, gosh, I am so hungry. Like.
Of course, leave it to Martina.
Well, I don't know if we can top that or anything else from the APP Masters after that story. But is there anything else before we take a look at next weekend?
There were a couple paddle throws.
Ooh, you were on court for that one, right? From
I was on
Jose
court
DeRisi?
Yeah. So the funnier part, well, that it kind of ties together, is Michelle the day before. Michelle Esposito chucked the paddle into the stand, hit the bleachers. Right, there was nobody in it except for Jose DeRisi, right? And he went and even got the paddle and handed it to her, like, come on, Michelle, like try to hit me next time or something like that, like joking around. And then so he was on my court on the next day playing men's senior pro and doubles. And it was like he went down like 7-0 or something, and he threw his paddle into the fence, right? And like said timeout. and the ref didn't see him do it, but it was obvious that he like chucked it into the fence. And the ref comes over, is like, I didn't see it, so this is just a warning because I obviously knew that you threw your paddle. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So then they switch sides, and Paul Olin tags him, right? He like just kind of rolls a backhand, and it hits Derisi right in the eye. I mean, like right in the eye. And of course, like he got pissed, right? So he takes his paddle, no look behind him, pucks, and this thing went over the like barrier behind the net, like the tennis net, over and like almost lands in the kitchen of the court behind him. And thankfully there was no one there, but we didn't even know what happened. Like I didn't even know what happened in the booth. And then Byron just comes out after he had like a medical timeout. So Derisi like loses a contact because it hits him in the eye. He has to go. He took a medical to go find another contact, put it in. Then, right before they're about to go, like ready to play, Byron comes out, and it's like, yeah, you get you lose a point for a technical warning, or like a technical for
A
throwing your
technical
paddle
foul.
outside. Yeah, technical foul. And then it's like after all that, he loses a point,
You lose a contact and a point.
but he chucked it. I mean, like he slinged it. It was like an impressive throw, like no look. And then they actually came back and won. They were down
They came
2-8.
back and won that?
They were down 2-8 against Olin, and who was Olin playing with? Not Sperling, right? Was Olin with Sperling? No, I don't remember. But yeah, they came back and won. They were down. They were at 3-8. He got the penalty, so he was down at 2-8, and then they came back and won.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, some players need something like that to get them going, right? So,
Yep.
but thank goodness nobody was on that next court. That's all I can say. Might have
Yeah.
been worse than a technical foul.
Yep.
All right, so next weekend, or I should say this weekend, coming up starting tomorrow, we are switching tours. The PPA is having their first tournament of the year with the Desert Ridge in Phoenix, Arizona. Some different faces than what we saw this past weekend. A lot of new names. I don't know if you looked at the bracket, Dom or John, but some names I haven't seen before. What are your thoughts going into this weekend? John, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So, definitely something interesting. Listening to my boy Tyson's podcast, he's had some mixed partner drama. So Tyson's not even playing mixed for the next like 2 or 3 tournaments. He doesn't have a mixed partner, and I'm like, dang, that sucks. I don't know what happened, but like they kind of alluded to it. It's like, okay, like one person, like say I'm playing with Stacie and Dom over the whole year, but now Stacie's like, I can't play. And then now I'm like, all right, well, I don't want to go only for one event now, right? So then I back out, right? And then however it works, and it's all now I'm bailing on Dom, so it's like there's like a domino effect, I guess. That's one of the things. There might be others, I don't know. But
It's like seriously, we need to start a pickleball reality show. Telling you, it would be
who would be the
huge.
star? Who would be the stars?
And I don't know. I don't want to call that out. I mean, I have ideas.
Oh gosh, I could think like
But a pickleball reality show, because you're right. Like we all see that, right? Like we see the partner swaps, the changes, the all this stuff, what's going on behind the scenes, and we hear it all. And I'm just like, oh my god, I don't want to hear it. But it's so funny. But it's all like you're saying, John. It's like, well, I don't want to bail. Well, I don't want to go for one, so I'm going to bail on them. And it's like, oh, just come on already.
Yeah, well, like my favorite thing about pickleball drama is you have like, say, I'm just looking at the list here, like, say just Lee Waters and Anna Lee Waters, right? Just to say it. Lee Waters comes up to me and says, "Gosh, I played really good, but Anna Lee just played terrible." And I'm not saying this happens with them, right? But
Yeah, right.
like Lee will be like, this obviously is not them. I'm just using it as an example. Lee could be like, gosh, I never even saw one ball, right? That person just played terrible. We lost 15-0. And then 30 minutes later, Annalie walks up right? And is like, gosh, Lee just played so bad. She got every single ball. Like I never saw a ball, like I played
Yeah.
really good. I did all I could, So like getting
Yep.
interviews like that, like reactions after a match between partners that lose would be the funniest thing in the world because everyone says like the same thing about the other person.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even pros, it's the amateurs too. The
Oh,
amateurs are even worse.
yeah, those ones are even worse.
It's like a 4-0 men's team. Like they're just savage.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to I want to see the Lucy Callie. So Kovalova and Callie Smith. I'm interested to see them play this weekend. Obviously, the Waters haven't played in a long time, and everyone's been off for a while. So it'll be fun to see them again. Haven't seen them since nationals.
Mm.
So some very interesting teams. It's going to be a lot of fun. There was already the drama earlier, with all the men's pro seeds came out for singles, and the initial seed gave J.W. Johnson a 9 seed, and then okay, well let's take that back, and now he's got a 4 seed, and it's like, oh god, here we go again. We're starting with the seed drama.
Yep.
Well, especially in their format, John and I have talked about this before. The
hmm
seeding is so important because you can't come back around. But I do think it's interesting the seeding because it's based on points, right? So the more PPAs you play, you have a chance to move up, which is it's fine. I'm sure that they think that's how they do it in other sports. It's just interesting because you may get some strange matchups, especially early in the year.
Right, and the thing of it is too is everybody's like, oh, J like if the bracket had stayed that way, JW is on the same side as Ben,
Mm.
right? And so you're looking at that and you're like, oh, JW's got to play Ben, blah blah blah. Don't look at it that way. If I'm Ben, I'm looking at it going, I got to play JW that soon, right? Like
Yeah.
that's more on him than it is on JW. And so
Hmm.
like everyone's always looking at it from the I'm looking at it from the top seeds perspective where okay, I should if I'm the top seed, I shouldn't have to have JW in the second round or the third round, right? I should have something not as flamboyant coming at me in
Yeah.
that second or third round.
Yep. What about you, Stace? Who do you want to see?
Well, I am excited to see Ben and Annalie hit the court together. This will be a
Oh,
first time.
they're never gonna
So
lose.
I'm just curious to see how it will play out, see what strategies they'll adopt,
Mhm.
if they'll do anything different. I'm excited. I am excited to see the Lucy Callie. Just curious. That's a lot of firepower on one side of the net.
Mhm.
Ta- Uh, I'm excited to see JW play with Georgia, his sister. I haven't seen that in a while, so I am very excited to see them hit the court together. And then on the men's doubles side, the notable matchups being Riley Newman, Matt Wright. I feel like that's going to be a very interesting pairing in terms of
Very interesting.
personality.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
And then same with Jay DeVilliers and Tyson McGuffin. I feel like the celebrations are going to be epic.
Mhm.
But
Come
yes,
on.
and I mean, there's a lot of new names that I haven't seen before. I am really
Mhm.
excited. John and I have talked about the unknown. I think that's and to your point earlier, Dom, the new people coming into the sport, bringing so much talent. I'm really excited to see how that shakes things up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got on the women's side too, you get the up and comers still. They're not surprising anybody anymore, but the Megan Sheehan Dazan and Elise Jones, like
Hmm.
don't ever go to sleep on those two because they're two that would be very similar to what I say the Kawamoto is just so annoying. They get everything back, so athletic. And our two names that'll be names that you'll have to reckon with to get through a women's draw.
Right. I guess the
Um,
other thing I'm excited about is not so much on the court, but off the court. Already you're seeing a lot of, I guess, quote unquote improvements. I mean, how many PPA posts have I seen today or in the past couple of weeks from players, with media from the PPA? I'm curious if they're going to do anything a little different. I know they have the celebrity exhibition with Michael Phelps and Larry Fitzgerald, but just kind of seeing what happens behind the scenes, if they do anything to elevate the experience, whether for people there or for us at home, and how that changes over the course of the year too.
Yeah, that's one thing that they do a very good job is the media, definitely. Um, I mean, they're definitely pumping money into it. You can see that, right? Um, Dom, what's your opinion on the contracts? Are you allowed to say?
I'm going to plead the fifth, and I'm going to take a sip of my Celsius.
I thought that was a White Claw.
No, dude.
No.
Celsius. It's my green tea, raspberry acai.
I was a little happy it was a White Claw.
No, it's again the contracts are they're individual. It's I think it's a complete personal decision on each and every player's part, right? If that's what they choose, that's what they choose, and it's just making sure that it's right for them. It's got to be the right fit, right? And if it's not, then don't do it. If it is, then and you feel it is, and you've consulted the right people and done your due diligence, and you still feel you're good with it, then by all means do it. I'm all for stability in the sport, and I think that's what both tours are trying to bring is stability to the sport, right, and the respect to the sport. I think both tours are doing exactly that, just in their own way, right? And so, yeah, with the contracts and whatnot, hey, if that's what you feel, go for it, right?
Yeah, and I think Stacie and I touched on this when they brought out all that news. It's I like to compare it to MMA, where you have like UFC and Bellator, right, or
Mm-hmm.
like other organizations. Is it gives more options to players to make the most money, and like
Right.
to get somebody in the star of can be the star of the UFC, and Bellator wants nothing to do with them, and then or like people in Bellator could like make a bunch of money that the UFC wouldn't want, right? And then there's just like so many different options for players, but also the two tours competing against each other is only going to help the player
Mhm.
in my mind, because they're going to want to compete to have the players, right? So if one person's not happy in tour A, maybe tour B has something that will make them happier, right?
Right.
So it's almost a good thing instead of just having one tour, because that one tour will get to decide, okay, you get this, and you have no other option.
Right. Exactly. So instead of a monopoly, you have options, right?
Yeah,
And the freedom for the players to make those options, right? Now, if you sign a contract right now, it's a little stiffer, right? You don't have many options or whatnot. But again, the ones that aren't, you have more options. And again, with this, we're still in such infancy with the sport and with pro tours. Like both tours are still learning what is the right way to go, how is the right approach, or what do we do for the pros? Is it stipends? Is it lodging? Is it meals? Is it um, you know um, entry fees, all that kind of stuff? What is the right fit? And both tours are still trying to figure that out, and that's not a bad thing. It's just showing that we're still so much in our infancy with pro tours. I mean, think about it. We don't have a year and a half under our belt with two pro tours,
yeah,
right? Like that's crazy. Because for us, at least to me, it feels like these pro tours have been around forever, and they really haven't.
hmm
I
yeah,
guess that's one thing we overlooked talking about this past weekend is Intersport has come into the APP
Hmm.
too. Do you have any insights into how that may affect or change anything?
And they're already starting to implement changes with prize pools. Some of the prize pools for some of the APP events have already gone up. St. Louis Open is $100,000 now.
Wow.
That's a big one. New York City's 125. So some of these, the tour are not stipends, but the prize pools have gone up. So that's only good for the sport. They've taken over some of the branding and things like that with how the tiers, and they're like
yeah.
Yeah, the elite and challenger.
Yes, yes, they're kind of renaming them and rebranding them, which is good, perfect. Make it how they want it, and I think it's only good for the sport. They've been around for 30 plus years in the business of sports, and so when you have someone with that kind of pedigree coming in and helping, right,
Mhm.
they're assisting. Ken Herman is still in charge. He's still overseeing the day to day, but they're coming in and assisting. That's a nice assist right there to have someone who's got your back like that. And again, like that, both tours have done that. They've brought in people who have their back now and have that backing, and we'll see how this plays out. It's going to be an interesting year, and I mean we're already through January, but APP just had theirs, and PPA is having theirs this weekend, and so it's going to be a fun year because as soon as February hits, it's like every other weekend there's like a tournament somewhere, somehow, some way. Someone's running a tournament somewhere, and Moneyball gets like lost and everything.
I know. I asked you that this weekend. I was like, so when are you going to put on another Moneyball? So, because that's like the only gold medal I have in pro is at the Moneyball.
I had so many people asking me, they're like, when are you going to run another like pro Moneyball? I'm like, when the world calendar goes to 62 weeks and we can fit in a Moneyball in between one of these tour stops, we'll be great.
Yeah.
Dom, give a little plug of what what Moneyball is and what you do with that.
So kind of started it. Nova and I started it during COVID to keep numbers down. As far as like tournaments, right? We were running tournaments where we had 5, 6, 700 players, and when the pandemic and everything was happening, we're like, how can we lower number of players but give players a better tournament experience? And so kind of came up with the format. I kind of piggybacked it off someone else that I'd already known, Mike Sullivan up in Illinois. He was doing something very similar. I like Sully. Sully's awesome. He was doing, huh?
I thought you were going to say Randy Coleman.
No, oh please, Randy Coleman. Randy Coleman with his Moneyball. I'm gonna put a hat here, and you put $1 in it, and then if you win 0.2, you take the $1 out, and then put $2 more, and then everyone's lost anyway. But no, it's you pay same entry fee as you would a regular tournament, but what we do is we do a round robin to start. So we'll do 2 pools. I max them out at 14, so we'll do 2 pools of 7, play 6 games to 11, and then seed all 14 teams, and then put all 14 teams in a double elimination bracket, and then play it out there. But in the double elimination, we do 1 to 15 all the way through on the top half and bottom half, and you'll play 2 out of 3 if you're in the third place match or the gold medal match, and you're guaranteed 8 matches no matter what.
Mhm.
And there's really no other tournaments around that you can say for your $70 entry fee, you're guaranteed 8 matches. And then plus, we put the money back in the players where we don't buy t-shirts, we don't buy medals. We put that cash back into the prize pool. And so what we do is we do a $750 prize pool for every bracket we run. And so it comes out to almost $7,000 prize pool for the whole tournament. So it's for an amateur tournament, 3 5s, 4 0s, and 4 5s, a $7,000 prize pool, and coming out and get a ton of like games in.
Yeah.
It's the best bang for your buck that you can do. So we love it, but we have another one coming this weekend, and I'm like going crazy because it's going to be like 50 degrees this weekend. It's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah, that's one
It
thing.
is a great.
But go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Stacey. No, you go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna say, no, you go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say it's a great format. John and I actually played together over
Mm-hmm.
COVID
Mm.
at one of your events. I have
Yep.
to say I was not in shape enough because it is a full day, ladies and gentlemen, like literally 7 in the morning to 7 at night, intense pickleball. But
Mm.
it's a great day, lots of fun games, and it's a great format that people should really emulate in their own communities.
Oh,
I
and
think it's
and John, I got another Martina story. Martina played the first Moneyball we ran, right? We had the open Moneyball. Martina played it with Johnny Goldberg, and it was like the first one we ran, it was like 95 degrees, right? And Martina had a cooler, like a huge cooler, like that you could fit like a dead body in, right? Well, after every match, she would literally open the cooler and she would put her whole body in it and she would sit in it and she'd be like, Dominic, I am never playing another Moneyball. I am never playing another Moneyball. And she played 3 in a row.
That's hilarious.
But she was awesome.
Yeah. For any like 3, 5, 4, whatever divisions you do them all, I think.
Yeah.
If you definitely look up the Dominic Catalano Moneyballs, because they are like Stace said, they are a long day, but you can't get better bang for your buck as far as a tournament goes. Because like you pay, like what, 60, $70,
hmm
but you get like at least 6 games, however the brackets, however that works. You get at least 6 games in the
In your pool
the
play.
round robin, and then you get at least another 2 in the double elimination. So it's
hmm
like, and you play the best people that are available in your bracket. Like it's like I've done the one I won was against JW.
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
Pierce.
yeah. Throw it right in there, John.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like 15-13 in the gold medal match, and we won.
You and the diver.
The diver. Oh yeah, Johan. Yeah,
You're playing with
Papa.
Yo.
Yeah. Um, just a like really fun day. So look up the Dominic Catalano Moneyball. You will, and especially now, like where else can 3-5s, 4-0s play for money?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen, So those are the most passionate pickleball people there are.
Absolutely. They're the most. The brackets I got this weekend, they're full. I'm sending my texts out, and they're like, "Gonna be a cold one this weekend. You guys better bundle up." I'm like, "Oh God, they're ready to go. They don't care."
So
What else do you
any
got, Stace?
final thoughts? Any final thoughts on the PPA looking forward or anything else that's noteworthy in the pickleball world?
What do you got, John?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to getting the booth again. Um, it's
Are
like
you doing next gen?
I have not talked to Ken after the weekend.
Okay.
So, but yeah, hopefully that'll be fun. I got two local guys up here, Liam Kilner and Austin. I can't remember. I don't know how to say his last. Taziki or something. I don't know. But they're playing in it. And they're gonna if they play the way that they can play, they will do very well, and I think like make a name for themselves in the next gen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would like to do that. That'd be fun. I mean, I'm game to do anything. That's pretty much what I told Ken. I was like, I can't do every weekend, but
Yeah.
especially on the East Coast, I could probably do, 1 or 2 times a month for sure. So
But yeah, I mean, APP's got 72 stops, and I think PPA's got 64. So, we're at like 148 tournaments this year. So, can't do them all.
yeah, right. But I mean, I like to see all the new matchups at the start of the year, right? Like, I think it'll just be a good year for pickleball. And in terms of 2 tours, I don't think we're gonna know how that's all gonna play out until the end of the year. We're just gonna have like, I think it'll be just good for pickleball for both tours, I think. But
Definitely. Dom, do you have any last thoughts? I have one final question. We asked our Instagram crew if they had any questions, so I have one more for John. But do you have any
Um,
final thoughts?
no, I'm looking forward. Like, I again had a blast this past weekend. John was awesome having you. You fit right in with everybody. When we go to dinner and everything, that was awesome. I knew you would. And just keep doing your research. You got to do some senior research, though, buddy. Senior research.
I gotta work on my
But
intros
no,
and outros too.
um, but no, it was a blast this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new matchups this weekend at the PPA in Arizona. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, Stace, John. It was a lot of fun. I'll come back on anytime you guys want to talk. I'll talk pickleball all day long.
Be careful what you ask for, Dom. You may be asked back quite frequently. You were great. Thank you for joining us. And one final question before I take it out, John. And this was from, I think, probably someone you play rec play with, and everybody that you play rec play with always likes a good ribbing, right? So, do you
Mm.
think do you think you will ever be able to beat Josh and Jesse?
So that came from Josh. And Josh, I do not play rec play with him. That kid's an idiot. Um, he is he was my roommate freshman year, and we lived together for 10 years. And one time we were out playing rec, whatever, and I had been playing for like a year and a half or something, and then it was like four of us were out there, and like these three guys never play. So I had a guy with me who never plays, right? And we lost to this kid Josh. He was sending the question, and this other guy Jesse. And they've never lived it down. Anytime I post any pickleball post on Instagram, one of them will comment, "Yeah, but you lost to like Josh and Jesse, whatever." And, like they will never play me again, So it's like they're the complete idiots. But yeah, that's a funny story. They never let me live it down that I lost to them. But they also my guy I was playing with couldn't even get the serve in. So,
No
You're,
excuses, John.
you're only as good as your last game against them, and you lost your
yeah.
last game against them. They're never gonna play you again.
Well, one of them moved to Hawaii, so I will probably very likely not. I don't know when the next time we'll play.
Hey, when you beat the people's champ, you just leave.
Yeah, that's what people want, I guess. To beat the people's champ.
Well, thank you again, Dom. It was a total pleasure. We'll have you back on anytime. And be sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you follow us on where you listen to your podcasts.
Mhm.
Subscribe to Pickler's Pickleball newsletter, where you can learn to play better pickleball for free. And please check out Dominic Catalano on social media and his Moneyball, as well as the Pickleball Club over in Sarasota. So, John, do you want to take us out? Dom, we always cheers the camera to end an episode. Maybe we'll cheers to Josh for the great question to end the day.
Oh, Jesus. All right. All right. Pickler is out.